Let's go ahead and test this through the API gateway. Let's say the request body has name, Jacob, user ID 3, and let's also say that the job is construction. Let's test it. It looks like we got a 500 error. That means that something went wrong, so let's check CloudWatch. After a while, you'll build up a rhythm where it's you test, you see what happens, you look at CloudWatch logs, you figure it out from there. At least right now, we're not really doing local testing or anything like that, so this is kind of as good as we get. It looks like we had a cannot read property includes of undefined. So it wasn't actually able to pick up that path. So what we can do now is let's simulate this whole API from our end. We're going to do a post request to /users, and let's actually copy the body of this just to save time. And send it. Okay, so it looks like we got a 500 again, so let's check CloudWatch. And sometimes these CloudWatch logs, they get reused. So if you see here, this is the start of the second invocation, or this is the start of the third invocation. This is the second invocation, and this is the first invocation. So each one of these are separate executions of our Lambda function, but they're all inside that one CloudWatch log file. Okay, so it's saying that it cannot read property of includes. It's saying the event literally just has Jacob name and user ID. So let's look at this again and see what's going on. I think what's going on is that we don't have proxy integration set up. This is something that would be this would be a complicated thing if without my background in doing this. But what we want to do is we want to actually press this check mark here. It says enable Lambda proxy integration. So now what this is going to do is basically the requests are going to get forwarded through API gateway as a big object. Then the Lambda function is then going to pull out the pieces and then respond back with a status code. And that's what we want to do. So now if we look at this method execution, we can kind of see this reflected. A request comes in, and then the request gets sent to our Lambda proxy integration. The Lambda proxy integration then goes to our create user Lambda, which then sends back a method response, and it comes back to the client. So this is going to make the CloudWatch logs look a little bit different, so let me show you that. So if we go to API Gateway and we hit test, and then we come down here and we paste that body, and we hit test here. First off, we get an internal server error, but let's go ahead and look at this to see what I'm talking about. We have this $latest, that means a new invocation happened. So now you can see that the event object went from being this very small, like name, user ID, job, to this gigantic blob of information. This is what we want. So now inside of this, we can see path, right? That's /users. And then our code, we're saying, let's pull this back up. We're saying event.path includes users. So event.path includes users, yes. We're saying HTTP method is a post. So let's add this in. And event.htmp method is equal to post. There we go. So now in future ones, we can add else if statements to cover get, delete, put, update, or put, all that stuff. And then if we keep scrolling down, we should see a body at some point. There we go. The body is actually a string. So this is what's called, it's stringified. So what we need to add here is, we need to say json.parse event.body. So now it's going to turn that string into an object. Let's save that. And now let's go ahead and rerun this. Okay, looks like we got an internal server error again. So let's go ahead and look back at the CloudWatch logs. This time we had /users. Down here we have the body. And then API gateway. It looked like API gateway showed a failure, but the logs are showing something different. So let me just double check. Yeah, I'm getting body status code 200. Let's go ahead and take a look inside of DynamoDB and see if it's got 3 items. It does. So now what we basically just did is we stored a new person there. So let's do that one more time. So I'm going to actually jump out of this and then come back, which should clear our last invocation, which it didn't. That's fine. But we're going to change the name to Sally. We're going to say that the user ID is 4. We're going to say job books. There we go. That's an internal server error again. Malformed Lambda proxy response. Okay, so what that basically means is that the Lambda function is working properly, so we should see Sally inside of here. Yep, there it is. But then we're not actually responding back properly to the browser. So let's take a look and see what the response has in it. The response is empty, right? So it has a status code, but it looks like it's not responding properly. What we're going to do is say json.stringify e, and we're going to do that for here as well. This is kind of getting a little bit too functional, as they say, because we're doing a lot instead of a lot, right? So we're basically hitting the handle create user, we're parsing this thing, passing it as an argument, and then we're stringifying the response, but just for like speed. So let's go ahead and do this one more time and test it. Okay, so that time it looks like it didn't throw an error, so that's better. Go ahead and take what we have now. Let's copy this, switch back to Postman, and then see what goes on. Teaching, say 5. Okay. Okay, so we got a 500 response, and we have a status code of 500, or 500 response with the empty body. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Got a CloudWatch, create user. Yeah, so that's really weird because basically it generated user ID 5 teaching. It didn't have our full Lambda proxy integration response. That's because, oh, we didn't deploy the API. So this is a common issue. When you face stuff like this, you just have to remember that you have to redeploy the API. When you use a deployment framework, later in the course, we're going to be using the serverless framework. We actually get past a lot of these issues. So probably what you're seeing right now, and you might get being a little bit frustrated, is like, why is it not working? And then trying to figure out how to debug it. I think it's nice to show this side of it as like what a normal process looks like, because this is how you become a proficient like cloud developer, is by understanding not just the easy way to do something, but also the more complicated way. Let's resend this. So it came back with just an empty object there. So let's look at CloudWatch. Okay, this time we got the resource path as we wanted. And it has our body here. But then on the back end, we basically came back with an empty object. So I think that's because when it's successful, DynamoDB isn't actually sending anything back. So this is actually what we want to happen. So now that we know this is working, CloudWatch is confirming, API gateway is fine, and our response coming back is fine as well. We have this 200 okay. I feel pretty good about this being a stopping point. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to expand on this Lambda function, and we're going to add the get user Lambda. So I know that I said here that we're going to look at setting up a local project. What I might actually do is wait on that, and I might just go straight to the get user Lambda and keep doing it in the console as we're doing, and then we'll go from there.